またあったな。
今回は容赦しないぞ。Behold, power!
It's just me, man.
In many markets, the decisions of some consumers can affect the utility other consumers receive from a product. These so-called network externalities are common in markets where products need to be connected together into a network, or complementary products are needed to fully benefit from a good, for example, video games console and video games. In these types of markets, standards are needed to aid both consumers and producers. The home video game market is an important example of a standard-based industry because customers purchase or rent software to use with their console. The need to interface between software and hardware in this industry thus creates a need for an industry standard to lower transaction costs and avoid confusions for consumers. Since the first emerge of a dominant design based on a cartridge system in 1976, there have been at least 6 stages of technological innovations based on video graphics capability. When competing in a standard-based industry, there are 3 key issues which should be addressed: the role of dominant design, the role of switching cost, the role of installed base. Let's now talk about the first point, dominant design. The 7th generation has established new standards in terms of storage media, resolution, and interface. These new standards will eventually reshape the video game console market. The second issue we would like to address is switching costs. As an example from the video game industry, think about backward compatibility, which is the possibility to play video games of the older versions of a console on new ones. The main disadvantage of Nintendo was that before Nintendo Wii was released, it did not have 100% compatibility, while PlayStation did. In this way, PlayStation had a competitive advantage over Nintendo because consumers who wanted to buy new versions of the console did not incur in switching costs. In fact, switching costs are facilitated and mutually reinforced by 2 things: complementary products and network effects. Once customers start to incur switching costs, then and only then the installed base of existing users starts to become a valuable resource for firms. The most direct way to build a firm's installed base is to be an early seller in a market. However, pre-announcement of new product development is also described as a useful strategy for firms. Just as an example, Sony formally unveiled the PS3 to the public on May 2005, 2 years before the actual release. The aim was to use the firm's brand and customers' expectation to increase its installed base before the release. In fact, those customers who were willing to buy a new console would wait for Sony's new baby.
SKU stands for stock keeping unit. It's a term merchants use to identify unique products in inventory. Obviously, in this case, it refers to unique system configurations. The multiple SKU strategy has brought with it more choices. It's not only a matter of which console to buy, a consumer must now choose between the different variations of the same console. I'm really not sure if the multi-SKU strategy is the right one, because for the average consumer, things can get a bit confusing. I remember a lot of people were quite pissed off 2 years back when, having just bought the version of the Xbox 360 that lacked the HDMI output, only to find out that the HDMI version was on sale a few weeks later. I'm awarding no points in this round because the multiple SKU approach really doesn't serve anyone's interest. I'm perfectly fine with shrinking down the components, but adding and subtracting features confuses the average consumer and frustrates the loyal list of fans of both manufacturers. A single SKU approach seems to be working fairly well for a certain other Japanese console, namely the Nintendo Wii.
Contrast the Sony PlayStation 3 to Nintendo's Wii product. The PlayStation 3 is a technological marvel. The best gameplay you can find, great graphics, a Blu-ray disc in the player. It's aimed at the hardcore gamer, the most demanding consumer in the market. Now Nintendo has innovated in a very different way. Instead of introducing games with better graphics, Nintendo's made it simpler, made it more accessible. The big innovation is the controller. I actually happen to bring my Wii controller with me because I'm a pretty big fan. This controller has an accelerometer in it, which allows it to measure motion along multiple dimensions. So if you want to play baseball, you pick it up, you go like this. You want to bowl, you go like this. Nintendo is consciously trying to target the non-gamer, and by doing so, it has greatly expanded the market for video games by reaching people that Sony wouldn't even think about targeting. Not winning by doing it better, but winning by doing it differently.
To sum up, our conclusion is that for this round, Nintendo Wii is the winner for two reasons. First, it defined new standards for the industry, thus forcing its competitors to follow its move. Just think about the fact that both Sony and Microsoft are now releasing additional components for their consoles, which are similar to Nintendo's remote controller model, namely PlayStation Move for Sony and Xbox Kinect for Microsoft. Second, while Nintendo's sales soared after the release of the Wii, PS and Xbox Ones remained stable over time, meaning that the Wii proved to be the real answer to consumers' desires.